Hi, today I'd like to talk to you about early Navajo or Diné jewelry. The Diné is what the people call themselves. The earliest jewelry, which was really started about the 1870s, was inspired by the Spanish as well as the Plains Indians. The Plains Indians were making their own jewelry using a German silver, and these were usually big, large cuffs that they would put on their arms or even their biceps. The Navajos took this design and made it their own, and they made it into a large wrist designs. And what they would use to do this is they didn't have silver, right? You couldn't just go buy sheets of silver. They had to make the silver, and they would use things like this. This is a coin that has been pounded out. It could have been an old silver peso or an American dollar. And then often they would use slugs of silver too that they would get. And this is called ingot. And the earliest kind of jewelry that was made by the Navajos and Diné used this ingot. So it's very important to be able to identify ingot jewelry. Now, ingot is a term that refers to this melting and either putting into bars or using for coinage. And when you look on the back of things like this first phase belt, you'll be able to see certain types of crackalore, and it's even more easy to see when you look at bracelets, early bracelets. There's this very fine, thin kind of breakage that you see, spider webbing, that tells you that this was not made from just a sheet of metal, but was actually an ingot piece that was hammered in, and it's an important identifier. If you see this, you can think that the piece is probably dates somewhere from 1930s or before. Now, this particular piece, which is again a first phase concho belt, is early. This is probably 1880s. And one of the things that really is interesting when you're identifying early pieces is not only the silver, but the leather. In this case, it's like a rock. This thing was worn and used, and after a period of 100 years, it takes its own feel. So it's important to be able to identify things by using certain characteristics that you expect to see in early jewelry. Ingot is one of the very most important. If you're dealing with leather work for belts, look at the leather and see if it fits, if it makes sense, and if it is compatible with what they're telling you. It's a big difference between a first phase belt like this from 1880s, which could be worth 15 to 20,000 if it was all intact and original, and one that was made in the 30s using sheet metal that could be 2,500. So learn the materials and you'll know a lot more about early Navajo or Diné jewelry. Thanks.